So formally, I'd like to welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Metropolitan Study Group, SRIA. My name's Sheen Towers, and for some time now, I have been serving as and continue to serve as the Director of Studies for the Metropolitan College, number one of the SRIA, the original college from which the entire society was born. And these meetings are regarded by pretty much all those who are members of the Metropolitan College and the other colleges in the province of Greater London. And I would say largely regarded by many in the society in general, these study group meetings are the lifeblood of the society. When we meet in this way, we have a wonderful opportunity to learn from each other, to listen to each other, to engage in the most wonderful conversations after the presentations. And usually the format is somebody will present a paper, they will read their paper, and then there'll be an open discussion of the subject matter. Over the last several years, at certain points leading up to the midsummer and midwinter solstices, I've had the privilege and the great pleasure of leading these presentations. And there has been a particular focus at those times. And I'd like to start by giving a brief recap about what we have done in these meetings throughout the last few years. And what I'm about to describe is something which has been observed by other people who are involved in other orders, so that we've joined together in meditation and in prayer to coincide with certain astrological and astronomical events of great significance over the last few years. I'm really delighted today to be co-presenting with my dear friend Barry Down, who's joining us at 3:45 in the morning from New Zealand. Hello to Barry. It's great to see you, Barry, as ever. And some of you may remember that in July this year, Barry and Barry's very good friend, Kath, who's also here today, gave a presentation on the English Kabbalah. And that was such a wonderful presentation. And the conversation that flowed after that was really, truly special. So it's lovely that you're here as well, Kath.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. So we're going to hop back a few years to 2020. Now let's look at what was taking place in 2020. We had COVID-19 appeared and the lockdown, and the world was hushed. All of a sudden, everything stopped. Even the aircraft flights. I was living in London at the time, and I remember being out and looking up at the sky, going out for walks across Hampstead Heath and looking up at the sky, and it was just quiet. And it was a very surreal feeling and very beautiful, strangely. There was that hush. Now, some of you may remember that leading up to just shortly a few days before the midsummer solstice of 2020, there was what I referred to as the Grand Alignment, which was an astrological and astronomical event where on the midsummer solstice, 21st of June, 2020, there was a full solar eclipse. And that happened at sunrise in the United Kingdom, literally just after sunrise. And the position of that solar eclipse occurred where the ecliptic of the zodiac crossed the galactic center. And that at that point was where the solar eclipse took place. The amount of celestial orchestration to align everything in that way at that particular time when the world was hushed was truly extraordinary. And I had the pleasure and the privilege that during that meeting to guide a meditation for everybody and encouraged people to join in that particular meditation. I'd like to say hello to Renee. I've just seen you've arrived. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you. Thank you.
And at that particular time, to coincide with this solar eclipse, and there was an invitation sent out to members of a variety of different spiritual orders and individuals of like mind and temperament who joined us in meditation to link up at that time. That was very successful. It went very, very well. Then exactly 6 months later, there was an extraordinary conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter at precisely 0 degrees of Aquarius on the midwinter solstice, which again, the level of celestial orchestration to make that happen exactly 6 months later was extraordinary. And that event, that event ushered in a period of, I think it's around 200 years, where this was the first conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius as an air sign. And for the next 200 odd years, to my understanding, all future conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter will be taking place in air signs for the next 200 years. It was a big shift. Going back 2,000 years, there are those who speculate that the Star of Bethlehem was actually a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. So it was a very significant moment. And once again, I had the pleasure and the privilege to guide meditation in preparation for that time when Saturn and Jupiter joined together in the sky at 0 degrees of Aquarius. I remember viewing this with one of our participants here today from just around the corner from where I'm sitting, and it was truly beautiful. Now, we also observed a meditation in March of this year to coincide with the entrance of Pluto into the astrological sign of Aquarius. Now, this again is a really hugely significant celestial event. And it's significant because if we look back in history, the last time that we had such an aspect of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, there was periods of great upheaval, radical change and transformation. There was the American and the French civil wars, lots of turbulent change. The growing emergence of scientific study, the development of science. And if you go back one time before then, Copernicus published his heliocentric theory. And suddenly our worldview, or our view of our place in the wider scheme of creation, shifted really radically. We went from believing that everything revolves around us on Earth to realizing that's not the case. We revolve around the sun. And look at what's happening in the last year. We've had the James Webb Space Telescope, which is bringing back information that's really radically altering our understanding of the vastness of creation. I saw a little video earlier today about this, that now the current speculation is, it used to be that they believed that the age of the observable universe was 13.7 billion years. And because of the imagery that's been coming back from the James Webb Space Telescope recently, there are people now who are speculating that it may be 26.7 billion. So that's like twice as much, which is really quite shocking. My suspicion is that it's way older than that, and that we just haven't got the instrumentation or the ability to comprehend how vast it actually may be. But if we look at what's happened in this last year, since March, developments on the Earth plane, since Pluto entered Aquarius initially in March of this year, there's lots of turmoil, lots of change, lots of things going on, lots of disruption and discord, and lots of scientific developments. So the movement of Pluto into Aquarius, it's done a little dance. It went in and then it went out again, a little bit like the Okie Kokie, and then it went back in again. So it's been back and forth, and basically it will be going. It's gone direct again, and it will be re-entering Aquarius on the 21st of January, 2024. So we've been marking these events in order to tune in and collectively and as individuals to welcome and evoke within ourselves the highest positive potential for change and growth. Like I say, as individuals and also collectively. Now, I'm a great believer in the power of focused prayer, and particularly group prayer and meditation. So, is there anybody here that doesn't resonate with what I just said there about the power of group prayer and meditation? It's fine if you don't, but if you do, just put your thumbs up or give me a little wave. That's lovely. That's great. So we're all reading off the same page. That's wonderful. I'm going to come back to this, the commonality of this a little bit later. But before I do, I'd like to hand over with great thanks to Barry in New Zealand. Barry is a highly experienced and knowledgeable spiritual astrologer. And what I've asked Barry to speak to everybody is why astrology? Why are these events important? And what's the point in us tuning in this way to these celestial events? So over to you, Barry. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane, and hello, everybody. Lovely to be here. Delightful. Yes, I think the first thing we have to look at, is our relationship to astrology and to the stars. I've mentioned it before, and I think it stands repeating. That when we're given the time and date of birth of a child, even though we, as astrologers, even though we may never have met that person, we can discern the life path and the character of that being. And of course, that child is every one of us when we mark that moment in time by our birth. And what really excites me is, from an astrological perspective, this is absolute proof that we are all celestial beings having an earthly existence, as the expression goes, because it's like the gods on Mount Olympus. If we look at the various planets in the heavens, if we imagine those gods as having a conversation, and that's where their angles and their positions around the earth. And so when we are born, or a child is born, of that moment in time, it's as though that conversation was made manifest in the world. So it's a marking of time in that conversation or that event as a human being evolves in a human life. So holding in our minds that we are connected directly to the heavens, and we are a conversation of the gods, of the supreme deity, made into many colors like a rainbow, and we express ourselves in accordance with what color we were born under, i.e. what aspects and angles and positions of these bodies are. And this applies to everything that is given as a moment in time. How does time come into manifestation? And for me, this is the importance of ceremony, prayer, and meditation as marking that moment in time. If we imagine that the universe is unfolding continuously in a state of becoming and in a state of a flow, and I make a sort of a reference here to quantum physics, to put it in a scientific term, that we have this perfect balance that's also a state of becoming. It's dynamic. So it's a moment in time that moves continuously. And so it's as though the balance is being continually moved like a wave, and it flows. And this is the conversation of the gods or goddess as manifestation and life occurs. But if we observe this moment in time, when the astrological events, aspects and positions are of a particular configuration, and we note that moment consciously by ceremony and meditation, we set a timeline, a course of action that comes into the world. So we can go through life in a mundane way by just going with the flow. But when we make a conscious recognition of a point in time, it's like a birth and sets along a timeline. And this is why I feel the importance of catching these astrological aspects as pilgrims on the path that we are, in the hope that we would raise our consciousness to a greater comprehension of who we are and what manifestation in the natural world is. We can take this tide in the affairs of man that carries on to great things, as Shakespeare says. And so we look at these great ingresses of the celestial bodies, like Pluto entering into Aquarius, entering into a new sign. And in astrology, we look upon Pluto as the soul journey. So if I have someone comes along for a reading, and the thing that fascinates me the most is, why is this soul been made manifest? And so I look to the position of Pluto as the soul journey. For archetypally, Pluto, the god of Hades, that which is beyond life in the kingdom and death, we all return there. So he holds the flow of the soul from incarnation to incarnation, And so I rather liken it to the soul comes along and is about to manifest and chooses a vehicle, rather like in the car lot, and says, shall I have a Cadillac, a Rolls Royce, or shall I have an old banger? And the soul gets in the seat and drives away and has an experience. The soul remains the same, but the vehicle is the means by which the soul is going to experience a lifetime, and then returns to the source at the end of that life, but it has become enriched with the knowledge of its existence in the earthly plane. This applies not just to the individual, but to humanity. And so in astrology, we look on at Pluto as the soul journey of the masses, of humanity in general. And what we've experienced in this unique time is Pluto since I believe the late 70s or early 80s entered Libra and went through the sign of Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. It's when Pluto went into Libra, we see this alignment of the consciousness of humanity with this poise of all potential, the balance, but the balance is a moving point in a state of becoming. So it was a reckoning, or an audit, if you like, of the life path of humanity. Where are we at this point? And where are we in taking stock? Which then led into Pluto entering Scorpio, which symbolically represents the death of the ego, who I think I am, how do I maintain my position in the physical world, in my ego consciousness? What are my fears? And I have held the paradigms that I hold so dear to my heart to give me a sense of security. Maybe I'll assert myself as a great surgeon or an athlete or whatever it is that ego consciousness is maintained for that world and what it thinks of itself. And in Scorpio says, well, actually, you're something greater, so I'm going to burst your bubble. And it's the death of the ego in order to release a knowledge of the spirit within. So collectively, humanity is going through this evolutionary process of the four signs of Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. Scorpio having done its its task, the soul collectively enters into Sagittarius, which is expansion, liberation. And if we look at the qualities of those signs, the Sagittarians, where are they? The eternal optimist. Let's go and do something new. Let's go and have an adventure. Let's be focused on freedom. And what does spirituality mean? We're interested in philosophy. What's life about? So this is like the liberated spirit exploring who and what it is. And so this is where Sagittarius becomes under philosophy and religion. And we saw in the world, when Pluto entered into Sagittarius, a taking stock of world religions. I believe the Twin Towers happened at that time, which brought into sharp focus, the questions of our belief systems. And then we had Pluto entering into Capricorn, the most earthy of the signs. So if we think of the journey from Libra to the death in Scorpio, to the liberation and the mysteries of Sagittarius, the initiated soul comes back to Earth at the new beginnings when it enters Capricorn. And we see Capricorn as the initiated soul coming with some knowledge back into the earth, back to Earth and the mundane consciousness. So therefore, that precipitates a certain amount of questioning and breaking down of the old paradigm, the previous paradigm. And we see that in the world, Capricorn representing property, banking, and the old institutions, all brought into question and starting to break down. And we've had this for the last 20 years. And we're about to enter Aquarius, Pluto going into then. And this is this collectively for humanity. What is the new paradigm that we want now? We've disposed of the past. It's broken down, it's fallen apart. And so in the age of Aquarius, the time of Pluto in Aquarius is new ideas, new paradigms, new scientific advancement, technology, and also the rights of the individual. And we see in the revolutions of the past, which Shane was mentioned earlier, the Copernican shift, and the revolutions that happened in the 1750s around the world, the French Revolution, the American independence. All this is the rising up of the people, which is consistent with Aquarius, the rights of the individual. But Aquarius says, I'm okay, you're okay. But you can express yourself, but don't interfere with the way I express myself. And Aquarius also recognizes it's the collective. We're all one. So how does this, well, we're all one, but we have rights as individuals manifest. And this is like looking into, of course, we're all one. We're in the unified universe, as illustrated by the example of our birth of a child, which I mentioned at the beginning, that we're all one, all part of the collective. But we all are traveling in different vehicles, which are our personalities, which is our experience in the world. And so this is how the synthesis of the rights of the individual, but what is that position, and how does that individual shine authentically in the world? And for the collective of humanity. And this is why we see these revolutions in the world of previous times of Pluto entering Aquarius. There's a raising of consciousness of who we are and where do we want to go. And so it's rather an interesting time that we're entering into now. And the scene has been set by Pluto transiting those four signs. They are a very important astrological initiatory process: Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. It sets the scene for what's to come. So what we're looking at here, we saw Jupiter and Saturn conjuncting on the solstice. Rather interesting. It was almost Jupiter expansion, the Saturn concretion and crystallization, entering into Capricorn at the solstice, the rebirth of the soul. So in this series of astrological aspects have been quite astounding over this last period of time, these last few years. And so I think this is why it's important to catch these waves where power goes, where attention goes, and the setting of forward of new timelines. And we can either get caught up in the vast changes and lamenting the old paradigms that are falling away, and we see it collectively and maybe with our friends and acquaintances and colleagues who seem to be experiencing challenges. If we've always done what we've always if we always do what we've always done, we always get what we always got. And we, given the opportunity now, this is the dynamic of the astrological energies that are occurring, is to re-examine the old paradigm and say, well, I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to suffer. How am I going to change? And we have an opportunity now with Pluto going into Aquarius, is to, by marking that time consciously as pilgrims on the path, to recognize the unity of who we are, and how that unity expresses itself in the vehicle that we have chosen to travel in. And by having an awareness of our collective consciousness, we can allow that to shine like the sun behind a stained glass window. Taking the stained glass window as being the colors of our personality. But once we connect ourselves with the greater consciousness, that window shines. And that's how we contribute to the collective. And this is what I feel by doing ceremony, as I say, we're as pilgrims on the path to raise our consciousness. We can ride the crest of the wave that carries us forward, and by that we can contribute to humanity. In astrology, also in the magical world, the old sorcery, if you like, of the Middle Ages is now gone. Where one might, a magician of old may have conjured up a spirit under a certain astrological aspect to bring them wealth or a partner or something like that. Well, that's sorcery. You know, there is only one true path, and that is to the pilgrim's path to higher consciousness, to comprehend how we can contribute as a collective to humanity. So I think I might just leave that a little bit at there, Shane, and perhaps you would like to come in.
Thank you very much, Barry. That was absolutely wonderful. So here's a question for everybody. Where is the work to be done within us if we're to make deep and profound progress? Where do we look within ourselves? What kind of changes would make sense for us to make? What are the things worth letting go of? This is always, I feel, a very, very useful way of approaching such a self-examination. What aspects of the me that I've known so far which no longer serve me? what are the ideas that maybe I've been holding on to, or the habits that I've been holding on to that really no longer serve me? Or maybe, what have I held on to that might not best be serving the greater good with regards to the world around me? So we have the opportunity to make choices, more informed choices. I would imagine that you would have seen on the news very recently, over the last several days, that there was a declaration in the Middle East that indicated a shift, or at least the intention of a shift away from the predominant use of fossil fuels. Now, this is something which must happen. It's going to be a process, but there needs to be a willingness to change. So where is the work to be done for us as individuals and collectively as humankind? So I'd like to ask you a question. I'm just going to shift the view here so that I get the view of the gallery and everybody here. So I'd like to ask you, do you all have a feeling, a positive feeling and a love for the natural world, for Mother Nature? Hands up, please. Any to the contrary? So it looks like we have an accord. Everybody here has a love for the natural world, for Mother Nature. I noticed this is maybe a little unusual, but it is Brig. And Brig, I love you dearly and I trust you completely. So you have your hand up. I'd like you to please go ahead if you have something you'd like to contribute.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Shane. And I'd like to kick this off because the subjects already being discussed are very, very profound, and possibly, like a lot of people, I've found it very, very difficult to come out with a positive and constructive perception, given the wars in the Ukraine and currently in Israel and Palestine. But it's flitted through my mind that there is a possibility, and I'm not saying probability, a possibility that this indeed could be an opportunity. And your question was, correct me if I'm wrong, what do we need to do as individual personalities or collectively to influence a positive change? And I'll make two suggestions, and at the risk of being boring, I will reiterate what a Christian theologian told students in answer to my question when I said, Professor Kung, when we leave this place, how can we make a positive contribution to a meaningful change in the world? And he swiftly answered by saying, you can take your pebble and you can cast it into the pool of human consciousness. You will make a ripple. Together, we will make a tidal wave. And this it has inspired me, and certainly the subject matter from Barry about the opportunity of getting rid of outdated, invalidated paradigms within ourselves. And I'm reminded just a couple of weeks ago, a dear Sikh brother at my local exercise class in a leisure centre, we were discussing the world's problems, as one does, and he just said something along the lines of, meaningful change cannot occur until the ego is killed. And I thought, yes, and that includes mine. And it started me looking within. So I share that with you all, and I'm sure that many here today will further that discussion. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Brig. That's absolutely wonderful. I love the analogy of the pebble there. I agree with that completely. You know, collectively, that little ripple becomes a very, very strong current. So I'm going to go back to the main screen here in the view. So there's a reason for this, because we're all in this together. I'd just like to highlight in the chat, Toby, you raised some very good points there about resistance. That's very honest, and I really, really appreciate your honest opinion about this. So let's just make it clear that the subject that we're discussing here, there is no judgment being made of anybody for the choices they make, what they choose to do or what they choose not to do. But what we're doing here is exploring ideas, exploring possibilities, and sharing ideas with each other, and encouraging each other to have the courage to really transparently and honestly take a look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what are the things within me that no longer serve me? Or what are the habits and patterns that I have become accustomed to, which are not contributing favorably to the well-being of the world around me? And how can I begin to make changes in my habits, within myself, how I communicate toward others, how I communicate toward myself, and how do I interact with the natural world around me? And this is really the subject that I'm leading toward. Now, the theme, when we've gathered at these meetings over recent years, there's been a coherent theme throughout the meditations, which is the conscious choice to reconnect with the sanctity of the living world around us, the spiritual dimension of all other forms of life with which we share this beautiful planet of ours. There was a wonderful documentary that I've recommended previously to people to seek out and watch and absorb, called Aware, Glimpses of Consciousness. I don't know whether, have any of you seen this? It's called Aware, Glimpses of Consciousness. It's a wonderful documentary, came out a couple of years ago. And in this, it explores scientific research into what is consciousness. And there's a wonderful quote that really struck a chord within me when I heard it. It's a woman scientist who was saying that our problems persist in the world because we look around us and we see things, not beings. All indigenous people throughout all history have acknowledged and lived their lives honoring the sacred spirit of the living world around them. The trees, the water, the sky, the air, the fire, the elements. In Rosicrucian studies and practice, the elements are vital. The study and the embodiment of the elements, the understanding of their interactions. All indigenous people have honored the sacred spirit of the animals and have had a deep and reverent connection with this, the spiritual sovereignty of the living world around them. We have lost our connection with this in the Western world, not just in the Western world, let's be frank. In the world in general, humanity has commoditized our view of the other sentient forms of life all around us and have desanctified our perception of the living world. We we have been and continue to plunder and pillage and destroy the living world. So when I ask the question, where is the work to be done within us as individuals, I extend that further. Where is the work to be done within all of humankind at this point in time, as we enter a 20-year period with when Pluto fully enters, and I just got the information up here, when Pluto fully enters Aquarius, it's going to do the okie dokie again later next year. So it goes in on the 21st of January. And I'm proposing that we gather together in shared meditation and prayer at that time at sunrise. I'll get onto that a little more in detail in a moment. So that's on the 21st of January next year. And again, as Barry so beautifully put, the reason why we do this is to mark a moment in time where so this is lovely, Toby, thank you. Toby says, I've been trying to break free and raise my level of consciousness to rise on the planes. Yes, I think that this is a goal, it's a worthy goal. And it says, but I realize now I've been missing something important, without which I can't do those other things. Ensuring that I am materially and physically grounded, rooted before I try climbing. That's so important, Toby. I believe wholeheartedly that's vital, that we have a root which is strong, and our grounded nature is in nature, that we are rooted in nature.
It sounds obvious when you read it like that. It's taken a long time.
And and that's so lovely. It's so wonderfully honest, Toby. I really appreciate your honesty about this. And this, isn't it true for all of humanity? We've had to get to the point where we're completely fucking things up. Excuse my language, but it's true. We are making a goddamn mess of things. And then we've got to like scurry around to put the wrongs right. And there's a huge movement of people from all around the world that are acknowledging the great necessity for change in the way we perceive our place within the wider world around us, the natural world around us. Just like back before Copernicus, we believed that everything revolves around us. And in many ways, we haven't made much progress, really, have we, since then? We still believe everything revolves around us as human beings, but it doesn't. We are not separate from nature. And we need to reconnect with nature with a gentle acceptance that we are a part of it, so that we can begin to move forward, making wiser choices in the years to come, how we conduct ourselves, how we interact with the world around us. And what can we do to develop our subtle senses, to be able to perceive the spirits contained within all of the different forms of sentient life? This is why I'm recommending this documentary, Aware Glimpses of Consciousness, because they are very clearly indicating through scientific research that consciousness is experienced by the plant kingdom in ways that we're only just starting to scratch the surface of the understanding of within the plant kingdom. The animal kingdom, absolutely. But when we look at an animal, an insect or a bird or a fish or whatever it may be, I saw a wonderful documentary new series with Sir David Attenborough, Planet Earth 3. And they had this crazy looking thing in the very frozen, under the frozen waters in, I think it was Alaska, an angelfish. Have you ever seen an angelfish? Oh my goodness me, they are like out of science fiction. They really are like that. Check it out. Google it. Angelfish. Incredible. And when we look at anything like that, there is a spirit and at the essence, at the core of that being. And the more we can train our capacity to empathically sense and feel the spirit in each of those life forms. If we have an encounter when we're out and about, I had beautiful experiences last summer with dragonflies, wonderful experiences with dragonflies where suddenly, for some reason, they were flying around and landing on my head and landing on my hand and just hanging out. And what a beautiful experience that was. And in that moment, it gave me an opportunity to acknowledge the spirit within that particular being. And it was incredibly nourishing and incredibly humbling. And I mention humbling very purposefully because I believe that humanity what's required is that we humble ourselves, that we don't arrogantly assume everything revolves around us, that we live not just for ourselves, but for all life. Can I ask everybody now, what I'm speaking of here is that, does everybody have a feeling about this themselves? Is this making sense? Is there a thumbs up? Is there a, oh, I'm not quite sure? Or is there a thumbs down? Right, so once again, we have an accord. Everybody here is in agreement. Let's just take a moment to really feel this. So we are a collection of people gathering in this wonderful technological way from all around the world, having this wonderful discussion, and we're all in agreement that we have a loving feeling toward the natural world, and that we all agree that there is a spiritual dimension to the other forms of life all around us. Could I just make sure that I'm reading you correctly? Is that a thumbs up, I'm not sure, or a thumbs down? That makes me very happy. And, you know, it's not rocket science, is it? What I mean is, it's a no-brainer. We all feel this. We all feel this. So I'd like to now just mention to you that as we speak now, there is a similar event that's taking place, which is an online event that started yesterday, and it's entitled Enlightening Our Way Together. Now, this initiative is a gathering of Indigenous-led people. It's an Indigenous-led gathering. Oh, Barry, what's going on here? Hang on. I'm just going to stop you here. For some reason, you shared your screen there. Oops, that's it. Thank you, Barry. So this started yesterday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with a fire ceremony. This ties in with a Native American prophecy of the lighting of the 7 fires, and particularly the lighting of the 8th fire, which will signify an age of great peace in the world. And representatives of many, many Indigenous people are gathering together at this time in unity and in the spirit of peace and love to share their teachings, to talk about the various projects and initiatives they're involved with from their different communities. I had the pleasure of attending that fire ceremony yesterday online, and along with one of the other people here on this call. And it moved me from the moment the first prayer was offered by the grandmothers. They passed the prayer from one grandmother who was tending the fire, and they had her sitting by the fire and talking, and then she offered a prayer, then passed it to the next grandmother, and they went on, and I wept and I wept and I wept, and it was joy juice. My heart was singing because these people were gathering in acknowledgement of the great necessity to come together from all different backgrounds in order to honor the natural world and to engage in projects and initiatives that help humankind to raise our level of consciousness so that we begin to act more responsibly as custodians of the natural world. This, I believe, is where the work is for humankind. So, as I said, as individuals, what are the aspects of my old self, the self I've known for all this time, that are worth letting go of, that make no sense for me to continue to carry within me? And then collectively as humankind, what are the habits that we need to let go of in order to begin to make great progress or greater progress, to realize our potential? So back to what Barry was saying about marking the time with these astrological events. With Pluto re-entering Aquarius, we have an opportunity to attune with those celestial energies and currents, and to evoke within ourselves the desire to raise ourselves up, to lift ourselves up, to bring out the very best in ourselves as we move forward through the coming years. Barry, is there something you'd like to share on this, to pick up?
Let's see. Yes. First of all, I'd like to just acknowledge Kath, because she's written quite a lot on the on the Libra, Scorpio, Capricorn, and so on, initiatory process. So acknowledge you there, Kath. Thank you. Yeah. So it's about reconnecting by catching these tides, these waves of astrological events, and there is an astrological system of the moon moving through all the signs of the zodiac in a month. And so not only do we have the opportunity with these major events, such as the ingress of Pluto into Aquarius and the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter and the various ones that we all become familiar with, not only do we have the ability to mark the time of those and catch the tide, but we also on how do we raise our own consciousness, that in order that we can recognize our own paradigm, and that's the thing. How can we do this? And we can do this by linking ourselves with through the year with the phases of the moon, and so on. And I think one of the natural world, Shane, which we speak of, what greater example of our intimate connection with the natural world than our own totem animals of our various zodiac signs. We look in the realms of esoteric teachings of the consciousness in not animals, minerals, and their attributes. Sagittarius, the horse, Taurus, the bull, and so on. And we look as individuals, given that we're colored by our own particular chart, but our particular animal sun sign, we tend to show traits as manifested in the animal kingdom by those particular totem animals. And we see that in indigenous cultures, the recognition of the totem animals and the consciousness of the natural world, they recognize that. And so a clue for ourselves is to realize how we share with our animals and the collected consciousness in that. So by doing these meditations, we can align that. I've lost myself a little bit there, Shane. So perhaps pass it back to you on. Oh, I'd like to say one thing, Toby, that the point you made about ripples, a stone in a pond.
That was Brig. That was Brig.
Brig, yeah, absolutely. I love the analogy. I feel the same way myself. And of course, the more of us collectively mark these times, then that stone that's dropped in the pond that makes the ripple, is increased by the sheer volume of the recognition of our collective consciousness. Back to you, Shane. Yeah.
Thank you, Barry. So regarding this fire ceremony that took place yesterday, there were people from all around the world. There was nearly 140 people from all around the world that participated in this ceremony. And the event is taking place over the next 7 days from now. It finishes on the 22nd of December. And there was such a coherent group spirit that was expressed. And again, I'm just looking at this, Toby. I get the idea of catching the wave. So really, what we're attempting to do here with marking these points in time, where there are these very specific, very strong, very potent celestial influences, is to, like surfers, just bobbing about on the surface, and we're waiting for the wave to come so that we can catch that wave and surf it, rather than just be kind of have the wave envelop us and drag us around all over the place, because there's no fun in that. Instead, this is about seeing the wave coming, feeling the surge, and then choosing collectively to surf on the top of that wave, and to do so with a joyful feeling. When you see some of these videos of, you've seen the videos of the surfers that take their dogs surfing with them, and the dogs are absolutely in heaven. They're loving it. Big smile, the humans, beautiful, big smiles, they're celebrating when they're catching the wave. It's a wonderful, exhilarating feeling. And I believe that's a perfect example of the type of approach that I wish to encourage for those of you who choose to join in these meditations as we move forward through the coming years, because there is a momentum that we build together. And what I'm noticing after attending this meeting yesterday is that it's not just this group. There are many other groups who are also feeling the call to join together. This is absolutely being acknowledged by indigenous people from all around the world, that now is the time to come together as one spiritual body, one voice together. As custodians, as the spokespeople for the natural world and the sacred spirit of the living world around us. Because the animals and the trees and the waters and the sky, the air, doesn't have a voice like we do. So we have to become that voice. And so I'd just like to mention that next year, as I said, Pluto re-enters Aquarius on the 21st of January, 2024. And what I'm proposing is that we gather together in meditation, following a very simple format, which I will be guiding us all through shortly. At sunrise, wherever you are at sunrise, on the 21st of January. Now, there's a worthy kind of question worth putting at this point. Does it matter that we all tune in at exactly the same time, or should we observe the meditation at sunrise wherever we are in the world? I would say that either of those is going to be good. It's going to be an acknowledgement, an attunement with that celestial influence. And when we do so, to evoke within us the strong desire to become the best version of ourselves we possibly can, to allow the most positive qualities that are catalyzed within us by the influence of that particular celestial influence of Pluto entering Aquarius, so that it brings the best out in us throughout the coming 20 years. So Pluto goes in on the 21st of January. I'm proposing that we meditate at sunrise. And then it goes back into Capricorn again on the 2nd of September 2024. And then it finally fully re-enters Aquarius on the 19th of November next year. And then it stays there until I think it's 2043. Yeah, 2043. So there's going to be a very, very huge period of 20 years of great change and transformation that we are going to be involved with and witnessing. Better catch that wave then. I love your comments, Toby. Absolutely, my friend. We better catch that wave. You know the expression, you snooze, you lose. You snooze, you lose. I'm just going to go back to the gallery view here because I actually really love looking at everybody here with this. Yes, Barry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the catching the wave there. When you, I think you shared with me the concept of drawing the bowstring. We're talking about Pluto going into Aquarius, then retrograding, and then going forward again. Is rather like the drawing of the bow. Shane, you shared that idea, that vision, and I think that's very relevant. When we noticed early on in the year when Pluto first tipped over into Aquarius, within 1 week of that, it exploded on the media, the implications of AI, the new technology, and how it was going to impact the world and change everybody's life. And then when it went retrograde, even the proponents of AI said, we need to pause for a moment. We need to sort of take stock of what this actually means. And governments and so on were asked to. And I think there was an open letter sent round to the governments to say, stop and look at this. Very consistent with the flow of the astrological event, going forwards, then hang on, go back, take stock, go forward again. And I think we've got a repeat of this. It's almost as though we're being eased in, to the new paradigm, or what do we want to come. And we noticed that when Jupiter entered into Aquarius early on in the year, Jupiter, the great benefic, and what I think Pluto, there was a Jupiter that when it went into Aquarius, I think it heralded a more benefic dynamic to the energy. And I noticed some of the aspects on, in November at sunrise, that we had the 19th of November. I drew the chart up for Glastonbury, and it was, for the astrologers here, it was it's Sun trine Moon, trine Mars, trine Neptune, trine the ascendant and the midheaven. Sun trine Neptune would indicate a spiritual component. In Glastonbury in England, at that time, Neptune will be in the 10th house. But to further at the sunrise, you were saying, to meditate at sunrise, that moment of sunrise is highly significant. And I think the idea that we meditate at that time gives the concept of a wave as the sun rises all the way around the world and carries that wave around the world. So it was a sort of a rather a lovely thought to meditate at sunrise, and call in wisdom and understanding and the ability to manifest it in the world in a benign and pleasant, graceful manner for all of us. Yeah. Back to you, Shane. Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Shane.
Thank you. I just noticed that. Thank you very much, Barry.
Yeah.
So, Kristen, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Right. I just wondered, there is, in anthroposophy, which is the study of Rudolf Steiner, and I apologize if I incessantly going back there, but, I'm reminded of an astrosopher, and that is astrologers who are into anthroposophy, the joining of the wisdom and the stars, spiritual wisdom and stars. And she commented, and I'm wondering if these astrologers, Barry and so forth, feel the same way. She commented that over the past recent decades, she's noticed really significant events like conjunctions, whatever, have been occurring at a more and more rapid rate. And she has used the comment that it seems like a countdown to something tremendously significant. And I'm wondering if Barry feels the same.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Cathal might have something to add to that. Most definitely. It's rather interesting that, in the past, we've had these Pluto's ingress into Aquarius in the age and the energy field of Pisces. But now it's occurring in the energy field of Aquarius, a different energy. So we've seen great revolutions in the past in the age of Pisces with this ingress. So I think we're going to see a different paradigm, a very highly significant event. And there's no way that we can divorce ourselves magically or consciously from the astrological phenomena. We only have to go back to what I was saying about the totem animals and also our own stained glass window, and our own birth charts as a collective. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Kirsten?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wonder, Kath, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
You need to unmute yourself, Kath. You're muted, Kath. Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
found it. There I am. Yes. Yes, there's all sorts of prophecies have come up, haven't they, in the last, well, since the turn of the century, really, and the big Mayan prophecies that were kind of revealed unto us. But there have been more prophecies made public. More recently, there's a whole tribe of Peruvian Indians have wandered down from the mountains with some revelation that we've all got to prepare for. And there's a lot of it about. It does seem to be in the general tide of human affairs, this underlying awareness that we are reaching an evolutionary transformation period, and that's clearly been going on for the last century. We've been drawing away from the old paradigms that have ruled the West for the last 2,000 years, and slowly beginning to explore other phenomena like space travel and quantum physics and exploring the whole universe. It's all metaphorical, or it can all be seen as metaphorical for the evolution of humanity as a whole. We're more interested in exploring our inner space now than we were 200 years ago. And we can talk to each other immediately as well around the world like this, which is such a revolutionary phenomenon, and it's just looks like it's going to continue in a similar stream of revolutionary new ideas, like, hey, stop the arms trade. Maybe. Who knows? But it looks good. The future looks good.
This is a theme. Thank you, Kath. What you said about the arms trade, that is absolutely a theme echoed by the people that were gathered at this opening fire ceremony yesterday. And like I say, nearly 140 people participating in this. And it's happening for the next 7 days. There are presentations from around 60 different speakers on various initiatives, projects that people are involved with, various collaborations, and the coming together of many different representatives of indigenous people from around the world to share their wisdom.
I've read somewhere, I think, that there are 10,000 Buddhist monks continuously praying for the future prosperity of mankind.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yes,
More
I
of
was.
that.
Yes, I was invited probably about 5 years ago to attend a ceremony being held by Zen Buddhist monks here. It was a Zen master that had come from Japan and was traveling around, and was saying we were imminently. This was about 8 years ago. In a time of great change, and they were traveling. He was traveling the world to do an initiation ceremony, a Zen ceremony, to prepare people for this, because it was so important to get as many people of his integrity initiated as possible in preparation for what was coming. So I thought it was rather interesting. It came from a Zen, a Zen Buddhist.
Yes. There are Buddhist prophecies on a similar theme going forward to, I think, 2034. Certainly into the 2030s.
One of the focus of this particular group is world peace by 2030. So they have a very bold vision there, really.
Yeah, John Lennon would be proud.
Yeah, absolutely. I recently, only a few days ago, had a wonderful conversation with one of the people joining us here today, who has various work and studies with various indigenous peoples. And they said something which I also was saying in the very same moment, that they expressed that it's as if many people are having the same vision at the same time.
Yes.
I thought that was so beautifully put. And it feels like this to me. There is a tide which is swelling, and people are feeling this. And so we have a wonderful opportunity. So the title of this this study group today was making the best use of celestial opportunity. You know, and what can we do?
And the internet is the ideal platform, or perhaps magical weapon.
Yes, that's a lovely way of looking at it, Kath. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely, yes.
And
Alex,
that is a clue towards doing rituals at the same time, if you can manage.
Thank you. We'll get back to this, Kath, because it ties in perfectly with what I'd like to share with you all. Yes, over to Alex and everyone at the Atlantis bookstore.
It was just a thought on this theme, actually. Is you know, Kath, as you said, the internet is a wonderful magical weapon, but you know, if you think about, I think Kath's on the phone, actually.
Yeah, let me just mute that. Where are we? Oh, there, that's muted.
On the phone to the International Indigenous Council of Internet Association. But I might have said that as a joke, but if you think about how the world is splitting up into sort of economic blocks, and it's all of, you know, if you look at the mundane world and how the chaos that is happening within the mundane world, that, you know, there must be, I mean, yeah, off the top of my head, there's going to be 1 billion indigenous peoples in the world who and free, you know, you add that to the free thinkers, and you add that, so it's almost like to counter this wave, to join as an international spiritual bloc, you know, using and as I was thinking this thought, you know, Kath had the wonderful thought of the magical weapon of the internet, but you know, there is, it's you know, if you look at the rest of the mundane world, it is as if it's like Rome just before Rome fell. It's the, you know, the ability to manifest the greatest light out of the greatest darkness. It does feel like we're in a cycle. You know, there have been many cycles of the greatest darkness, but there feels to be one at the moment which is engaging and galvanizing like-minded light workers and free thinkers and philosophical indigenous prophetical peoples around the world. And you know, is this a time to create a, you know, to make something more of these international gatherings? So to you know, it's like a political spiritual block of metaphysical light workers unite. Kind of, there was just that thing of you know, how can we galvanize all of this wonderful power, which is backed up by the glory of the natural world and the infinite power of the universe, if we want to look at it that way. You know, surely there is a greater ability to manifest more light than the dark that seems to be engulfing the planet at the moment. That was just my thought.
Alex, thank you so much for that. I agree with everything you just said, and this really leads very nicely into this. So there is a hugely significant astrological event which is taking place in early 2026. And I mentioned this event that started yesterday with the fire ceremony, and there will be a talk that I'm giving on this subject as part of that event on the midwinter solstice at 4 p.m. GMT. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the purpose of this talk is to encourage people from all different spiritual traditions to gather together as one voice in prayer, ceremony, and meditation to create an event like we're having now, like the meditations that we've shared together in these study group meetings, like have been shared within other orders as well over the recent years, gatherings on the inner planes to coincide with these astrological events. But there is a hugely significant event that will be taking place in early 2026. And I have a vision for this, which I wrote to the people only a few days ago, the organizers of this event, and with a proposal and an offer to present a talk for the event. And they got back to me that very same day and have welcomed me in. So I'm honored by that opportunity. And I will be giving this talk on the 21st of December. For those who are interested in joining, I'm going to put in the chat here a Zoom meeting ID. It doesn't need a passcode. So if you want to see in the chat there, maybe copy and paste that or make a little note of it.
We can do better than that. If you send me the details of the talk, I can email all the members of the Metropolitan Study Group.
I thank you very much, Alex. I would greatly appreciate that because it ties in so perfectly with all of the work that we've been doing in these meetings leading up to the solstices and marking these astrological events over the last 3 years. And this is like an extension of this. Like I say, I was moved genuinely. My heart was so full yesterday. I was weeping throughout the whole of this fire ceremony and the prayers that were offered by the grandmothers. It was truly, truly moving. It was beautiful. And this initiative is really being led by the sacred feminine and honored by all, male and female and other. But it's being led by the sacred feminine, and rightly so, in my opinion, because we all need to develop a greater empathy so that we can live more harmoniously alongside the other forms of life that we share this planet with in the future.
We couldn't agree more wholeheartedly with you, Sheen. That's absolutely correct.
God bless you, Alex. Thank you so much. I really, really value your comment there so much. Thank you. And to all of you. So when I've asked the question, is there anything that I've said today that hasn't made sense or doesn't resonate positively within you? If it does resonate positively within you, could you just raise your hands? Let me see you raise the hands there. That's absolutely fantastic. And thank you. So again, we have an accord. We're a gathering of people from all around the world agreeing on something fundamental and very, very important. So where the mind leads, the chi follows, the energy follows. So collectively, if we can become unified in our thinking, unified in our intention, and prepared to do the work, and prepared to change ourselves, to take a really honest look at ourselves and think, well, how can I improve myself? What can I do to better myself and become a better version of myself? Then collectively, we can achieve a great deal together. And the goal really is to unite, to send out a call, to welcome in people from all different spiritual traditions, from all around the world, to join together in prayer and ceremony and meditation to mark this particular celestial event, which is happening in early 2026. And I'll share this with you now because it seems like it's appropriate to do so. It is a conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at precisely 0 degrees of Aries, which is the beginning of the zodiacal year. It's the zodiacal new year. It signifies the birth. As I've discussed with our dear friend Barry here about this event, and Barry put it so beautifully, it struck such a chord in me, Barry, when you said this, that it signifies the birth of a completely new spiritual ego. And we're talking about for humanity. A new sense of I am. Yes, please go ahead, Kath.
You're muted, Kath.
Right. Aries rules England. So this aspect will affect England. Aries also rules Japan and Syria in traditional astrological geographical rulerships. So something will happen that will be similar in those 3 countries. That's all.
Thank you, Kath. Barry, do you want to add something?
Yes, a good point, Kath. It's interesting. There's a little book, Raphael's Mundane Astrology, which gives the rulership of various countries, their signs that they're ruled under. And as Kath said, the country is ruled by Aries. You know, I think it'd be interesting to, if you take Aries as the the first house, look at all the if you took Aries first, Taurus second, Gemini third, and so on. It'd be interesting to just have a look at these different countries, like America's ruled by Cancer. Cancer's the 10th house. So the aspirations, which is the 11th house, is Aquarius. So perhaps there'll be a correlation with the aspirations of that country. And similarly with all the other countries. It's just a thought. I mean, I'll stand corrected on that, but it's a way of looking at how it's going to manifest in all of our own personal charts as well. If you look at our own ascendant, my ascendant's Leo, so Aquarius is in the 7th house, so it'll be how a new relationship, how I relate to others. So look at the house that the Aquarius is in your own personal chart, and that'll be the area of your life which will show your different relation, how it's going to manifest for you. Yeah.
Thank you, Barry. I think this is something that we can look into in more depth at a later date, really, because that's very relevant. But I'd like to hand over. It's really lovely that you're joining us, Bia, for the first time. And I suspect you're joining us from Brazil. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. I'm in São Paulo. So hi, everyone.
Great to see you.
Yeah, so nice to see you. And hi, Sophia. Hi, Christian. So nice to be here with you. Thank you guys for the space. I just wanted to share some stuff after hearing all of you speak. And There's so much amazing things being shared here, and all these details about what's happening astrologically. I like to be the one who's going to throw in maybe a little something for us to think about on another perspective. So I really like what you said, Sheen, about us connecting to indigenous people, or, you know, just taking part on the ceremony, and how they have been guardians of this memory that we are connected, that we and nature are one, right? That's what the consciousness that they guard is, that we are one with nature, we are one with the animals. They have not separated themselves from nature or the animal kingdom, so they maintained the unity of togetherness. They haven't separated. But I was thinking that we have to remember, and I know we're going into a new era, but I think we have to remember history, that most indigenous peoples also have been robbed of so much by us, right? So I wanted to say something here, and it's like, go and talk to indigenous peoples to understand, because I know we all pray and we all have our spirit animals and we're all in contact with the animals, and we all think they have their spirituality and sanctity and nature. I know we're all on the same page, but I know from experience that when you meet a being that hasn't separated, you see how far you still are from being that close to it. And I think this idea of us recognizing, even though we love nature and we love animals, that we're still so separate from it. And the work is not about loving it and sanctifying it, or whatever it is you want to call it, but how do we lose that idea that something is separated from whatever it is, that we are separated from each other by that matter? So how do we get a bit closer? I'm not sure how close we can get, but we can get a bit closer. And I think the first step is to recognize that even if we're praying, we're still separate from it. I still have many insights and many moments where I think, fuck, I didn't see that coming. When you're so much into that learning process and the learning with indigenous peoples, but all of a sudden you just realize how wide or how far away from it you are. And I also wanted to bring that to astrology, because I know the Egyptians and the Mayans and the Incas, they also looked at the stars and looked at all the planetary movements of what was going on. But from my perspective and the indigenous cultures I am in contact with today, astrology is a super complex, super wide, super high level study, that it's not what the indigenous peoples of the world are looking at. They look at the sun, they look at the moon, they look at earth, they look at water, they look at fire. Oh, but astrology is talking about all of these things. I know, but they have reduced, and this is the beauty of things, is that they have reduced all the complexity of existence that we as humans separated from nature have also managed to acquire, because that separation also managed you to go and get a telescope and whatever and study astrology, because if you're there in nature, maybe you wouldn't have the access to all of this information you have today. So they have condensed all of that into the basics. So they look at the sun, they look at the tide, and they know if it's going to rain. Or they look at the ocean, and they look at the fire, and they look at the moon, and they know that the water is going to come up and is going to flood everything. It's much more on a, you know, the wind just hit my face, and I know something is shifting. So it's so reduced to the basics and the basics and the basics. And all of this to say that I think it's beautiful we all join. But I also would like to see that when the invitation arrives really to the indigenous peoples to join, it arrives, or when it arrives to the world, it arrives in a way that is simple, that it's really about it's not like, oh, there is an astrological event of Pluto. I don't even know. I'm sorry, I can't repeat. I can be anything. Yeah, I know there is an astrological event happening in 2 years because it's going to be on my birthday. She told me. But I don't know what is the conjunction. I'm not that deep into us. I don't know it yet that deep. But when the invitation comes, it doesn't come because the astrological event is happening, but because we all feel that this is where our hearts are moving toward, and this is where we want to join. And I just wanted to leave that note, because sometimes we forget how complex, or, you know, like even religion, they're not part of any religion. Their religion is nature. So religion is also not a topic for indigenous peoples. The fire is their religion, the air is their religion, the river is their religion, or, you know. So just to leave that as a note of how, even when we are when the intent is so pure and so full of love, how even with a pure loving intent, we can still be separate from that what we're trying to connect. And then my key to connecting, it's really reducing it to the simplest, and also to that memory, as you said, Sheen, of us learning how to be humble, to that memory that, no, I'm not that connected as they are. No, I'm not one with nature as they are. I'm here to learn, and I'm here in a humbling way to strip myself from all of those things that I thought made myself better because I'm human. And yesterday, just as a joke before I stopped speaking, I was just thinking, maybe if we take out the H from human, if we just human, then maybe we get our egos a bit lower, and take away that barrier that this H brings between us. In Portuguese, homem is also like the man is also with the H, and thought maybe we take out from human and from man the H, and we just get humans naked and back to where they were. So that's it from here. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. That was very, very wonderful that you offer that perspective. And I absolutely agree with you. It's really important that we don't overthink things. I've studied with a particular teacher over years, and one of their sayings is, this is a feeling art. You can't think your way into correct feeling, but you can feel your way toward more correct thinking. And I guess what I'm wanting to encourage and to propose really here for all of us is that it needs to be reduced. I agree completely with what you said. Anything that we do in this capacity, say for a gathering in 2026, and that needs to be reduced to the simplest possible form, so that it's the most readily understood and acceptable form, so that everybody can feel together. This is about connecting hearts. It's not about intellectual anything.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Barry.
Absolutely. It's the fundamental. It was our ancestors, got lost in the mist of time, that observed, the natural world, exactly as Bea was saying. They noticed that their women folk were synchronized in their cycles with the moon, and by observing the celestial bodies, there was no separation between heaven and the indigenous mind, and by building upon this, by observing the natural world and the movements of the moon and the seasons coinciding with the sun and so on, that this was the foundation. And the simplicity is observe nature. And it was these great cycles that led into, this astrology. And you get, I think Toby mentioned the Indian culture, and in all the different philosophies and religions and so on, you go back, they're looking at the movement of the heavens and the natural cycles that they can relate to. So indeed, in astrology, it's very important not to get caught up into intellectualizing, the phenomena. Go back to say, what is really observably happening in the world? The phases of the moon, the tide's going to be higher or lower. That's fact. That's the real world. And lovely Beer, to absolutely bring that perspective about get real, observe the natural world and its cycles. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. So back to this, the date of this event. I was asked by Alex and the people in London what the date is. So Saturn conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, off the top of my head, is going to be taking place on the 26th of, I think it's 26th of February. Is that correct, Beer? Is that the date that was your birthday?
Oh,
yeah. Anyway, I think it's the 26th of February. But I asked Barry to take a look at the aspects at that particular time, and there are some challenging aspects at that time. So regarding a gathering and a proposed event to synchronize prayer and ceremony with people around the world, Barry took a look at dates a little bit further than that. So here's the thing. I had this conversation with Bea only a few days ago, met her for the first time, and we were discussing these things. And also I was introduced by Sophia, who's a dear friend of mine I've known for years, who's on this call as well. And I said, Bea said, well, what's the date? And I told her, she said, no way, that's my birthday. And then when I said Barry had suggested several days later, and because the planets are moving so slowly, it's still conjunct, but the aspects were very favorable. And then the question was asked, well, what date is that? And I said, it's the 6th of March. And then Sophia said, well, no way, that's my birthday. So what are the chances of that? I'm having a conversation with these two people about this conjunction that's happening, and the actual date, and then the proposed date for the gathering, which would be much more advantageous with more harmonious aspects. Sorry, I'm just going to mute somebody there. And so that's the date proposed, is the 6th of March 2026. But that's a couple of years away, just over a couple of years. So we have a lot of work to do, and I'm actively pursuing this personally in my own work. And like I say, I will be presenting a talk for 1 hour as part of this this gathering, this event, Enlightening Our Way Together. Alex, thank you. I will forward you the details if you're able to then forward that to the members of the Metropolitan Study Group, the people on the mailing list. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. And I'd like to encourage everybody to attend, to join, because it's going to be outlining an extension of this particular work. I'm just going to shift back to the gallery view here so that I can see everybody again. So, does anybody have any comments or questions on this at all before we proceed? Anybody? Just raise your hand or just go ahead. If not, then I'll continue and we'll move into the meditative gathering. So I just want to check that everybody is comfortable where you're sitting. This is going to be very, very simple, very straightforward. And in order to focus everybody on this, I have a candle here, which I'm about to light. And all I would ask you to do, please, just for a few seconds, is to focus your attention on the flame of this candle. And after a few seconds, allow your eyes to close, having absorbed the light from the candle. This I now do. In the name of the Most High, Creator and Sustainer of all universes and realms, we center ourselves to honor you and to honor the Sacred Heart within each of us gathered here in this way, at this moment in time. We gather in humble service in order to attune ourselves and link our hearts together so that we form one spiritual body. One spirit, one heart, fueled by love. And may love guard and protect us all as we begin this meditation. From where you are sitting, wherever you may be in the world at this time, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to begin to see and to feel the gentle emergence of a fine and delicate mist which rises up and out of the ground all around you. The mist is rising and it is soft and it's gentle, and its color is pink, flecked with shimmering gold, flashing all around, and the mist rises up out of the ground, enveloping your feet, enveloping your legs, enveloping your torso, your arms and hands and fingers and thumbs and palms. The mist rises higher, and the mist is soothing. It soothes and it softens and it heals and it strengthens, relaxing us all, evoking a sense of peace and harmony and love. And the color of this mist is becoming more vibrantly pink, flecked with shimmering gold, flashing all around us. And the mist rises higher and it envelops our necks and our head and above our head now. So we are completely enveloped in this delicate, fine, soothing, healing mist. pink flecked with shimmering gold, which flashes all around us. And now the mist is beginning to disperse slowly, softly, and gently. And as the mist is dispersing, we begin to see that we are gathered together in a vast temple. And this temple is beyond space and it's beyond time. And the span of this temple encompasses the whole Earth planet. It is beyond form. It is beyond the physical and it is beyond time. And each in our own unique way, we now view our gathering as a vast circle which spans this temple. We begin to step forward slightly and into this temple space. And as we step forward, we notice that at the very center of our circle, there is an altar, which is a double cube. And on the top of the double cube, there is a single red candle, which is lit. And next to the candle, there is an oil burner, which infuses the air with the scent of rose and frankincense. And upon that double cube altar, there is a rose, a beautiful red rose in full bloom. And as we gaze at this rose with the light from the candle on the altar, we breathe together the scent of the rose and frankincense in the air. We reach out our arms out to our sides with our right palms facing upwards and our left palms facing downwards. And we hover with our hands just above and below the person next to us. And together, as one spiritual body, we breathe in together now. And as we breathe out, we join our hands and form the link. Now we breathe naturally and we hold this circle in silence, connecting our hearts with the light from the candle upon the altar at the very center of our circle. Linking our hearts together as one. We bow our heads and we hold this circle in reverence and in silence for a short time together now. And in this timeless place, I offer this prayer that we all now, in humble service to the divine spirit of the living world, we reach out in loving acceptance of the divinity inherent in all creation. May we learn how to serve through the coming years. the life which we share with all other forms of life. May we be strengthened in our work. Now together we raise our hands still linked, raising our hands up slowly higher and higher until we are holding the circle with our hands connected above our heads, forming the shape of a crown. And together as one now, we release the grip and send the energy from our circle up and out and into the world. And we slowly lower our arms back to our sides. We bow our heads. We take a short step back. And as we do, we begin to perceive the mist is rising up and out of the ground once again by our feet. The mist rises, enveloping our feet and our legs, pink flecked with shimmering gold, flashing all around us again. The mist rises higher, enveloping our torso, our bodies, our arms and hands and fingers and thumbs and palms, pink flecked with shimmering gold, flashing all about us, and finally enveloping our heads until we are completely enveloped in this soothing, healing mist, pink flecked with shimmering gold, flashing all about us now. We breathe deeply, and as we breathe out, we release all the old tensions and stresses and strains that we no longer need to carry within us. And with thanks, we begin to notice the mist is dispersing slowly, gently. And as the mist is clearing, we begin to perceive the room that we are sitting in now. Feeling the sitting bones sitting on the chair, the back resting on whatever we're resting on, or where we may be standing or laying. And slowly and gently, with an attitude of gratitude, we allow our eyes to slowly open, returning to the physical space of the room that we're sitting in. Allowing the eyes to open now. I would request that you please just look around the room where you're in and notice the colors all around you and the form of the objects all around you. What a blessing it is to be able to perceive color and form and to feel our physical being in this realm. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of you for your patience with me with this, and for your focus, your group focus, and your wonderful openness to joining in this meeting today like this. And I would like to just really open this up just to finish. Anybody who wishes to share anything, anybody who wishes to make a comment or observation, please feel free. Go ahead. Barry?
I'd like to say, if you could hear now, it's dawn. It's just started and it's now getting light out there. And in the meditation, we're welcomed by the dawn chorus, if you could hear it, all the birds singing. So from the dawn in New Zealand, blessings, everybody.
That's so lovely, Barry. Thank you very much for sharing that. Brig, over to you, my friend.
I think you've managed to create in all of us during that meditation, Shane, certainly the interconnectedness with each other, and may we extend that to the natural world, because I think if we can continue to practice this, and having the belief, as I do, and I think you share, thought has form, we can indeed take our individual pebbles and cast them into the pool of human consciousness. Thank you so much.
Brig, thank you very much. I'm delighted to hear you say that. Thank you very much indeed. And so I'd like to encourage everybody. I'm just going to go back to the other view, the gallery view here. So again, I can just see everybody for the purpose of the recording. And I'd like to encourage everybody. It's a very simple format, that particular meditation. Would you agree, hopefully? That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Yeah, we can all remember what we just did. Thank you. So I would like to encourage you all to please gather together at sunrise on the 21st of January. Set your alarm. It doesn't need to be for a long period of time. Once again, this is a timeless thing. I truly believe. Same with prayer and meditation. It doesn't have to take long. It can happen in an instant. Just by closing the eyes, we're there. It happens. There's no time. We step out of time when we do this. So I wish to encourage you to please make a note in your diary, 21st of January, sunrise, and we'll gather together in this way, observing that meditation. And yeah, any comments? Anybody? Anything in London? Anyone wishes to share? No problem if you don't at all.
Only to say, Sheen, thank you so much for that. This is our last last meeting of the year. Just to say thank you to you for always being the shining guiding light of the MSG. To Barry and Kath for becoming such good friends of the MSG this year. Your contribution is just absolutely fantastic. And for everybody else for joining in. And I think this afternoon has been a wonderful example of why we do this. And you know, as we were getting the train into London this morning to the bookshop, thousands of people are running around waiting to consume, to spend thousands of pounds, got to get Christmas presents, the mundane world going absolutely nuts. And yet we have just had a very, very quiet, very, very beautiful afternoon. And I think this has been a perfect example of why we do what we do. So thank you all very much from us in London, and have a wonderful, very Merry Christmas. And we look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's lovely to see everyone there. Alistair and Mike and Shiraz as well. Lovely to see you, Shiraz. Lots of love to you all, and all the people there who I don't know by name. It's lovely to see you. And yeah, I will, via Alex, I will ask Alex to forward the details of the talk that I'll be giving on the midwinter solstice. It will start at 4 p.m. GMT, and that will be 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll just be for 1 hour. And I warmly invite you to attend that and to support the development of the project as it moves forward throughout the next couple of years, and to potentially, if you're so moved to do so, to do whatever you can to spread the word and to invite others in of like mind and temperament to gather together at that time in early 2026. But we have a couple of years to develop this. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for being here. And throughout the year, this past year of all of these Metropolitan study group meetings, they are such a wonderful gathering of such diverse range of people. And I look forward very much to 2024 and the talks which will be offered by such a wonderful variety of presenters next year. I'm very much looking forward to that. And I would like you to I'd like to wish you all a very, very beautiful, blessed, peaceful Christmas, wherever you are in the world. Have safe travels. Take good care of yourselves. And just so much love to you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and a very blessed solstice. And I look forward to seeing those of you that can join the talk on the 21st of December. Thank you so much.